Hi everybody, welcome to a new encounter. In today's video we are going to speak about one of the most controversial figures in the history of the world, and particularly in Islamic history. I'm making reference to the doctor and philosopher Bakr Muhammad ibn Zakariya al-Razi. He was simply known as al-Razi, was born in the city of Ray in what that time was part of known as the Persian Empire. He was born in the year 854 and according to some died in the year 925, others say in the year 935, but the point is that he's simply known as one of the greatest medical authorities in the Islamic world, along with Ibn Sina or Avicenna. And at the same time he was known because of his philosophical ideas, and because of this he was known as the heretic. Now you can imagine what kind of ideas could al-Razi have that in the Islamic world he was attacked, his philosophical books were destroyed, and we almost have know nothing about his ideas with the exception of what's left from his detractors, who set on the task of writing books to refute al-Razi's ideas. But let's explain a little bit more about this man, so well known. As I said, a great medical authority. He was a follower of Galen, the great Greek doctor, according to some, the father of medicine. But at the same time, as was characteristic of al-Razi, he wrote that you have to revere the great sages from the past, your ancestors and all this, but at the same time you can never be afraid to differ from them. If you have a different idea, never be afraid to express, even if your idea, if your concepts, if your beliefs go against what is accepted and what is established in society. And it was exactly because of this he got in trouble with many religious authorities and with other philosophers as well. As I said, he was a follower of Galen, and in fact in his works we find a lot of resemblance with the works of this great Greek doctor, but at the same time he criticized him when he thought that Galen was wrong. And the fact is that al-Razi wrote very important medical books and treatises, more than 200 manuscripts we have on his medical works. He was a pioneer in a lot of things in the field of medicine. We have to mention that he was also an alchemist. He did great developments in chemistry, and his medical works present us with a deep knowledge of anatomy, therapeutics, also differential diagnosis, and many other topics that were unknown at his time. And all of this, he was able to gather such amount of knowledge and took a lot of notes and research because of his vast experience. He was the chief doctor of the city of Ray in Persia, his native city, and he was in charge of all the hospitals there. Also, he was the chief medical authority in Baghdad. He was appointed as the doctor of the important families, the ruling families, and therefore he had a lot of knowledge in the field, experience, innovative medical treatment, etc. And as I said, along with Ibn Sina or Avicenna, al-Razi is considered one of the two greatest medical authorities in the Islamic world, although both al-Razi and Avicenna or Ibn Sina, both of them were Persians. In the field of medicine, we have to say that he also was the first one that produced acids, such as the sulfuric acid, was discovered by al-Razi. He studied in detail and left notes on diseases such as smallpox and measles. Also, he was a pioneer in the field of ophthalmology and chemistry. As I mentioned, he was a pioneer in the field of experimental medicine, and in fact many people went to visit him in his native city to learn from such a great medical authority. But he was also known because of his philosophical ideas, and for some it would have been better if al-Razi stuck his head on medicine and don't go into the field of philosophy. Because of his philosophical ideas he got into trouble, as I said, and to such an extent that his enemies or his detractors don't even address him by his name, but they call him the heretic. And you might think, what was that this guy did to get such a name? Well, I will explain now a very deep theory known as the theory of the 5 principles on how the universe was created. This is a very bold theory according to al-Razi, and I will simply just explain it as a professor, and you have to be patient because this is a very deep topic, very profound philosophical discussion on how the universe was created by God. And al-Razi clearly said something that immediately shocked any believer in the monotheistic way, either Islam, Jewish, Christian, and other monotheistic religions, Zoroastrians and the others. Is very important, of course, the unicity of God. God is one, not 2, 3, or 4, or 10. God is one. But al-Razi came with a theory in which he said, look, how God created the universe. In order for God to create the universe, you need 5 things in place: God, the soul, matter, time, and place. But if you need this, he said, these are eternal principles with God, meaning these 5 components existed together. And this is problematic because later on we have the theologians that developed the theory of creation ex nihilo, creation out of nothing. But at the time of al-Razi, this theory was not well developed yet, and many philosophers and theologians came with different ideas on how the universe was created. And one of these theories was al-Razi's theory of the 5 eternal principles, which basically he's saying there are 5 gods. Now watch out, he's saying that he names one of them God, but the other ones is they are also eternal with God. He said God was not alone. Along with him there were 4 other principles. You have 5 in total. So this is problematic with the basic understanding of the unicity of God in Islam, in other monotheistic religions. So in other words, you are saying there are 5 gods? This is a big bold claim in Islam. Now let's explain why al-Razi came out with this theory, because don't think that he was a fool, that he had no knowledge. No, he was a philosopher. The guy was a well-studied, well-read, he knew his thing. Now let's try to understand why he said that these 5 eternal principles existed before everything that we know, in order for everything that we know to exist. His theory is explained in the following way. Basically he's saying that, okay, in order for God to create the universe, God was there, but for him to create the universe, he needed something to create the universe with. What is the universe made of? Matter. Therefore, if God wants to create the universe, he needs matter to create the universe. Now, if you say that matter did not exist and he had to create the matter, so with that he can make the universe, then the question is, what is matter made of? And if matter is made of something else, that something else also existed, and so on and so on and so on. Because again, remember that the theory of creation ex nihilo was not yet developed. Therefore, he said, if God wants to create the universe, he needs matter. Therefore, matter was eternal, co-eternal with God. That's one thing. Second, in order to create, you need a place where to put the universe. Because if you are making the universe, where are you going to put the universe? You need a place. And that place he calls it the infinite void in which to put the universe. But if you have a void, a place where to put the universe, you also need time, eternal time, because to do an action is measured by time. My hand that moves from here to here, this movement was measured by time. I don't know, less than a second maybe. Well, for God to create the universe, he needs time, because an action, a movement, is measured by time. Therefore, here he said, the place must also exist, and time must also exist. Therefore, these are co-eternals with God. Now, there is also another principle, the soul. He calls it the eternal soul that needed to exist in order for everything to be created. Now, with these 5 elements, everything that we know, according to al-Razi, came to exist. So, until now we have God, the eternal soul, matter, time, and space. The combination of these elements is what gives birth, or we have with it the creation of everything that we know. All the universe and everything was made by the combination of these 5 elements. Now let's explain according to al-Razi's theory. He said that at some point in the infinite time, the soul, the eternal soul that was there, decided to intermingle, join with matter. And according to al-Razi, that was a foolish behavior, that was a foolish soul, because of this action, that the soul decided to join with matter, and everything was chaotic. Everything that we see, that's why everything that we see in the world, in the universe, everything was a big chaos at that time. There was no order, there was no perfection, things were not good, because of the decision of the soul to join with matter. Therefore God, who is just, decided to help us out. And he decided to fashion matter with soul together, and God then fashioned the planets, the shape of the sun, the moon, the stars, the galaxies, the plants, the trees. He shaped the human being, which is composed of matter and soul. And the animals also are made of matter and soul. And the plants, everything has a soul. And also is made of matter. Because matter and soul decided to combine, but things were not beautiful, things were ugly, and God shaped everything beautiful with colors, with different shapes and harmony and perfection and equilibrium. This thanks to God, according to al-Razi's theory. But then also, he said that the behavior of the soul to join with matter was a foolish behavior. Therefore, things must be restored to balance and to order. So, for the soul to go back to the perfect state, the soul must liberate itself from matter and return to the primordial state before it was joined with matter. That's why human beings, when they come to earth and they die, the soul have to separate from matter and go back to the spiritual world, to that eternal place where the soul was before it came into matter and joined with matter. Therefore, this is very important. Now, according to al-Razi, God gave us something very great or special, which was the gift of reason, a mind to think, to reason, to differentiate us from animals. And we have to use reason in order to learn and not make mistakes. And from this comes up different problems, and his critics attack him because he said, well, your theory is problematic. He had a debate with Shia and Ismaili. His name Abu Hatim al-Razi also, because they were from the same city. So this guy debated him, and this Abu Hatim debated al-Razi and criticized him. This theory of the 5 eternal principles goes against Islam, against the established belief in the unity of God. But also he pointed to al-Razi, criticized him because he did not, according to him, did not believe in prophecy. Because al-Razi said you have to use reason before prophecy, because it cannot be that God chooses a certain man and appoint them as prophets and give them certain knowledge and not to the others. Therefore, this is like unjust. And because people follow certain prophets, then that's why there is division in the world. Then that's why people go out for war and kill others if you don't believe in my religion, and they force people to join your religion, and they go to war, and there's violence and crimes and bloodshed and many bad things. He said this because of this belief in prophecy, and because of this, then there is all the chaos that we see in the world, in society, because of people are following men and ideas and this kind of thing. Al-Razi said this is a big thing. He said that it cannot be that he gives only prophecy to certain men. This is unjust from God, and this is far from God, according to Al-Razi. Therefore, this is a huge problem. Not only, imagine, in Islam, to say such a thing is a bold claim. In all monotheistic religion, because Al-Razi is attacking the Prophet Muhammad. Al-Razi is attacking the Quran. Al-Razi is attacking the Torah, the Injil, the New Testament, all revelation, all the prophets. He's saying, you have to use your mind. Imagine such claims in Islam. That's why now you can understand why they call him the heretic. Imagine that when he had this debate with Abu Hatim, the debate ended when Al-Razi came with these claims. People started yelling and throwing things, and people stood and left. Was a huge uproar. Imagine such a great commotion because of these ideas. Now we come to understand why his philosophical books were destroyed, banned, burned. We know almost nothing. Thanks for what's left from the books of his critics, who wrote certain things in order to refute these claims. But now we can see the problematics with the theories and the philosophical ideas of Al-Razi. Again, not because he was a philosopher, because of his ideas, because in fact he was in a pugna with other philosophers as well, who had a different understanding from what Al-Razi claimed. These were bold assumptions, bold theories, that for some it would have been better if Al-Razi never dealt with philosophical matters, but just stuck his head into the medicine, which he was a great doctor. He did great contributions, as we know, until our very day. But his ideas on philosophy were really, really problematic. And that's why he was known, or he is known, until our days as the heretic. Is quite problematic man, but at the same time, as a doctor, he, as I said, along with Avicenna, Ibn Sina, both of them are the greatest doctors in the Islamic tradition, both of them Persians. As we know, the Persians were great from time immemorial, and gave great discoveries to humanity. But this guy Al-Razi, you can see then I don't know how he had the courage to come up with these things, but in his mind, his mentality, his ideas, he even said it, I'm not afraid to express or say the things I believe. But this got him in trouble, and many times people tried to kill him. So it's a very interesting figure in history, in the study of philosophy, the life of Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Zakariya al-Razi. I want to thank you so much for your attention. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you have anything else to say about Al-Razi, criticize him, anything you want to say, you're welcome to leave your comments. If this information was useful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and God willing, we'll see each other in the next video.